All right, in this video, we are going to evaluate these limit questions over here, where we see all the questions have x approaches either positive infinity or x approaches negative infinity. So these are infinite limit questions. And when we sub in the limit into all these questions, so for example, in the first one, if I sub it in, I'll have infinity over infinity, which is indeterminate. Second one, again, I'll have infinity over infinity, and you'll have either infinity over infinity or negative infinity over negative infinity in all these questions, which means they are all indeterminate forms, and we have to use some other method to solve or evaluate these. I'm going to show the first question in extreme detail with all the steps, but for the second, third, and fourth question, I'm going to show you how you can do them a bit quicker. So depending on what your teacher wants to see in your test or exam, you can do it in either way. But these questions can be done extremely quick or can be done in slightly longer method. So first thing you want to do is you want to divide every single term by your largest exponent. In this question, if you look at the top and the bottom, the largest exponent is x4. So I'm going to divide every single term by x to the power of 4. Now I just want to simplify this. So over here, x4 and x4 cancel. So that's just 5 over here. X squared and the 4 becomes a 2. So I have plus 3 over x squared. That one cannot simplify. So it's 7 over x4. Then bottom x4 and x4 cancel. So that's just 2 minus x over x4 is just 3 over x cubed. Third step is to sub in your limit now. So this will just be 5 plus 3 over infinity squared, which is infinity, 7 over infinity 4, which is infinity, 2 minus 3 over infinity cube, which we can just write as infinity for now. And then 3 divided by infinity is just a 0. So I have 5 plus 0 plus 0 divided by 2 minus 3 over infinity again is 0, which just leaves me with the final answer of 5 over 2 in this first question over here. Again, if you look at the question, we notice the degrees are the same. So the solution is just the division. You learned that in advanced functions as well in terms of horizontal asymptotes. Basically, the limit is just the same as the horizontal asymptote in this question. Let's do this one a bit quicker. So in this one, I want to divide everything again by x4 because x4 is the largest exponent. So if I divide this by x4 and I sub in infinity, this will automatically be 0 because that will be 3 over x. 3 over infinity is 0. This will also be 0. This will be 5 because the x4s will cancel. This will be 0. And this will also be 0. So I did both these steps mentally really quick. It's really easy to do it. It's just the largest exponent, the coefficient stays, and all the rest of the exponents, the coefficients turn to 0. So over here, I'm just left with 0 on the top, 0 plus 0. On the bottom, I'm left with 5 minus 0, which is 5. And 0 divided by 5 is 0. In this question, I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals to 0, basically. So look at these third and fourth questions that are pretty similar. The only difference is one is positive infinity, the other is negative infinity. So in this question, my largest exponent is x cubed. So I'm dividing everything by x cubed. 2x cubed divided by 2x cubed will give me 2. This one will be 0. This one will be 0. That's x squared, so it's 0, 0, 0. Only x cubes. Anything with the x cube will have a different coefficient. So 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 0 plus 0 on the bottom is 0. But this question, my final answer is just going to be 2 divided by 0 is just infinity. And let's try this final question over here. Okay, so same step to begin with. So I'm going to divide everything by x cubed. So this will just become 2. This will just become 0. This will become 0. This will become 0. This will become 0. And this will become 0. So again, I'm left with 2 over 0. And 2 over 0 is infinity. So if I look at these two problems over here, is it possible that the function approaches infinity on both ends? It's very unlikely. This is a question with an oblique asymptote. I'm just going to sketch this out here really quickly. You have an oblique asymptote somewhere. So most likely one end is positive infinity, the other end is negative infinity. Now, I believe in different questions, anything is possible. So for these final answers here where we just get infinity, should we be checking our answer to make sure whether the final answer is positive or negative infinity? The answer is yes. It is really important to make sure that your final answer is either positive or negative infinity, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Let's take a look at the first one. You only care about the largest term on the top and the bottom, the largest exponent. You don't care about anything else. So in this first one, I mean, technically they're both the same question. I only care about 2x cubed and 5x squared. Okay, if I sub in infinity, so technically the x squared just cancels with that. We don't really care about that. If I sub in positive infinity into this equation, that is 2 times infinity over 5. 2 times infinity is infinity. Infinity divided by 5 is still positive infinity. So this answer is good over here. So make sure when you get your final answer as infinity, you do that little check. Let's go to this second question over here. Again, I have just 2x cubed over 5x squared as my biggest exponents. That cancels with this. And if I sub in negative infinity, now I have 2 times negative infinity divided by 5. 2 times negative infinity is negative infinity over 5, which is negative infinity. So my final answer for this last question is actually negative infinity. So when you have limits where x is approaching a negative value, or technically if your final answer is positive or negative infinity, you kind of want to do that little check by taking the largest term, dividing by the largest term on the bottom, simplifying it, and then subbing in infinity or negative infinity to see what you get for your final answer. If you want, I'll do one more example. I'll make up one example really quickly just so you understand these harder questions at the end. Let's do lim x approaches negative infinity, negative 3x 5 plus 7 over 2x 4 minus 9x. If I'm doing this question over here, I know my largest exponent is x5. I'm dividing everything by x5. That's just going to leave me with negative 3 plus 0 divided by 0 minus 0, which is negative 3 over 0, which I can assume to be is negative infinity. But before I want to put that as my final answer, because I get infinity as an answer, I want to actually test in this. I'm going to just do negative 3x5 over 2x4. I'll simplify this. It's just negative 3x over 2. And then I'm going to sub in negative infinity into this. So negative 3 times negative infinity divided by 2, that's positive infinity over 2, which means that my final answer here is actually positive infinity. So as you can see, these questions are slightly tricky when your final answer is supposed to be positive or negative infinity. You should always test with the largest terms. Make sure you get the right solution and not just guess based on this calculation here, because this calculation is not 100% accurate for an answer of positive or negative infinity. If you made it to the end of this video and you found this content helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.